After 7 years of romance, on our wedding day, a stranger suddenly rushed to the altar and professed his love for my fiancée. Without hesitation, Jessica took his hand, leaving me behind. Everyone thought she had gone mad, but only I knew the truth. She was a time traveler, here to right the wrongs done to that man. In the future, she would attempt to steal my fortune, endanger my life, and destroy my family. What she didn't know was that I, too, was a time traveler. My mission was to stop these unscrupulous individuals in this world. Ding! Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. Bride, do you take this man before you to be your lawfully wedded husband, to love him for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do you part? As the officiant finished his passionate speech, I noticed a flicker of hesitation cross Jessica Saunders' face opposite me. In the past, I would have been nervous, but now, having been reborn, I knew she would never marry me. Someone would come to interrupt the wedding soon. After all, she was the protagonist who had transmigrated into this story, while I was the evil antagonist in her eyes. The person interrupting would be the tragic male lead. She would help that man destroy me, leaving my family in ruins and me dead. The doors to the hall burst open. A man in a suit rushed in. It was Clive Gregory. He was one of the main culprits who had ruined my family in my past life. The newcomer was backlit, as if surrounded by some mysterious aura, covered in filters. "Jessica, don't marry him. I'm here," he cried. Jessica's eyes widened in shock, instantly brimming with tears. She reached out a trembling hand towards him. "You finally came. I knew you would come for me. I'm sorry I'm late. Will you leave with me?" "Yes, I'll go with you." Jessica ran straight into Clive's arms and they embraced tightly. The two began kissing passionately, oblivious to everyone around them. I watched calmly from the side. The guests below erupted in shocked whispers, especially Mr. and Mrs. Saunders, whose faces turned black as thunder. Outrageous! Just as the couple was about to make their escape hand in hand, Mrs. Saunders rushed forward to stop them. "Jessica Saunders, have you gone mad? Today is your wedding day. Who is this boy?" But Jessica was completely swept up in the excitement of their dramatic reunion. "Mom, I came to this world for him. If I can't marry him, I might as well die." Her words caused even more of an uproar among the guests. With that, she shook off her mother's hand and ran out with Clive Gregory. My mother's face instantly darkened, her gaze towards the Saunders family turning hostile. "If you don't give me an explanation for today's events, there's no need to continue our previous business cooperation." Compared to my mother's fury, my father's expression was rather odd, as if he wanted to say something. But seeing my mother's cold face, he ultimately chose to stay silent. I watched this farce from the side, feeling somewhat amused. After all, I had already experienced this once in my previous life. Once bitten, twice shy. There was nothing to feel embarrassed about now. It had happened exactly like this before. They left swiftly and decisively. No matter how much I had begged and pleaded, even saying I would forgive everything if she just came back. But they had ignored me completely and walked away. Later, they returned, but only for Jessica to help Clive, the illegitimate son, seize control of the company. In the end, they even forced my father to hand over all his assets. I was completely kicked out of the company, and my mother, framed as the mistress instead of the legal wife in their elaborate scheme, couldn't bear the shock and jumped to her death. I smiled at the shocked and bewildered guests below. "Everyone, please don't panic. This was just a small mishap." I walked off the stage towards a girl in a waitress uniform who was still watching the drama unfold. Taking her hand, I led her back onto the stage. "This is my true fiancée, Sophia Nicholson. Please don't be alarmed. We'll go change into proper attire and the wedding will proceed as planned. To the Saunders relatives, there's no need to feel awkward. Please enjoy the food and drinks. After all, this will be the last meal you have at the Gregory Hotel, as we'll be terminating all contracts with you." I smiled as I finished speaking, then led her backstage. She tried to pull away from me. "What are you doing?" she exclaimed. I stood still, letting her hit me. "I heard your family is trying to arrange a marriage for you, apparently with some old geezer. Your family must be in need of money, aren't they? They're always trying to sell you off for cash. Instead of that bloke, why don't you marry me? We could work together. I'll give you money, and you can play along with me in this charade." Seeing her hesitate slightly, I sweetened the deal. "And after it's done, I'll not only let you go, I'll help you break free from your family. I'll set you up with your own company so you can make your mark. While we're married, your family won't be able to cause you any trouble. What do you say? You could choose anyone else." She started. I shook my head firmly. "I don't want anyone else. I only want you." She looked into my determined eyes and finally nodded. "It's a deal." I took her hand. "It's a deal. Now, let's go get you into a wedding dress and complete this farcical wedding of ours." When we came back out, most of the Saunders family had left. Only Mr. and Mrs. Saunders remained, sitting stiffly in their seats. Mr. Saunders finally realized I was serious. His expression changed abruptly. "Alexander, are you really going through with this?" "Of course. After all, it's the first time I, Alexander Rivers, have encountered such a shocking love story. I can only wish Miss Saunders and that gentleman eternal happiness." He seemed about to say something more, but I silenced him with a cold look. Not bothering to waste more words on them, I had my people escort them to guest seats on the side. The officiant stood on the stage, looking a bit lost. This lady is?" "Sophia Nicholson, my fiancée." She looked at me in shock, seemingly wondering how I knew her name. Of course, it's because I'm also a transmigrator, but of a higher caliber. I'm a professional. My purpose for existing is to dispel readers' resentment. They felt the original male and female leads were ridiculously unreasonable. So a character like me was added to the story. But the power of the plot was quite strong. It arranged for me to be cast as the vicious villain. It forced me to go through the plot once. That was the original story. In my previous life, I broke free a little, but still couldn't escape the constraints. This is already the third time, and I can finally act as I wish. And Sophia Nicholson was one of the minor characters who got caught in the crossfire. In the end, she was sold by her family to a coal tycoon and eventually died from domestic violence. The rest of the wedding ceremony went smoothly. It's just that the expressions of the audience below were not quite right. And the Nicholson family, who rushed in just as things were winding down, brought this farce to its peak. As the reception was nearly over, the Nicholsons arrived. The greed on the faces of the few who came was practically dripping onto my shoes. They first swept their eyes over the luxurious banquet hall, then looked at me eagerly. "Oh my, this must be our son-in-law. What a handsome and talented young man." Indeed, indeed. I always said Sophia was blessed. Look, she's become a golden phoenix now. Looking at this whole family, I said politely but not courteously, "Would you kindly sod off?" I lazily rubbed my wrist, glancing at the hand that had touched my clothes. "And don't touch me. I have a phobia of germs." I cleanly and efficiently used a handkerchief as a buffer to break his hand, watching him rolling on the ground, wailing. "Didn't you bother to find out who I am before coming? Am I someone you can casually try to network with?" Everyone looked at me, trembling. Even Mr. and Mrs. Saunders' eyes held a hint of terror as they gazed at me. But for people like this, violence is the easiest way to deal with them. After all, this is my character setting, a calm madman with a pathological obsession with cleanliness. In the end, they were unceremoniously thrown out by my bodyguards. The Saunders couple didn't dare linger, repeatedly saying they would come to apologize tomorrow before leaving. Only my parents remained in the room. I let out a sigh of relief. "Mom, Dad, you don't need to worry about this anymore. I'll handle it myself. I've booked you tickets to the Canary Islands for a nice holiday." I ushered them out that very night. Finally, Sophia Nicholson and I had time to go home and rest properly. "What should I do next?" Sophia asked, knocking on my door just as I was about to go to bed after a shower. I looked at her in surprise. Go to your room and sleep. Then tomorrow we'll continue playing the sweet couple act. After all, those two said they were coming to apologize, didn't they? Sophia's face instantly turned red, and she glared at me with a mix of coyness and annoyance. I was completely baffled, not knowing what I'd done wrong. The next day, as expected, the Saunders family came to apologize, bringing Jessica with them. However, their attitude wasn't as good as I had anticipated. Jessica glared at me fiercely. I only called off the engagement. Do you really have to target our family like this? You're truly wicked. People like you don't deserve a happy ending. Let me tell you, I will never marry someone like you. I really wanted to see what was going on inside the head of this self-righteous creature. Even her parents didn't dare speak to me like that. How dare she? My bodyguards caught my glance and stepped forward, delivering a slap to her face. She looked at me, shocked. After all, in the original story, I, the villainous antagonist, was deeply in love with Jessica, desperately wanting to marry her no matter what. That's a little reminder to teach you how to speak to me properly, I said coldly. As for targeting you, it's actually a lesson for you. Your breaking off the engagement means nothing to me, but you made me lose face, and that's unacceptable. You brought this upon yourself. Don't blame me, understood? In my previous life, Jessica had deliberately humiliated me before I died. She said the thing she hated most about me was my arrogant, bullying demeanor. She said I deserved my fate. She claimed she came to this world to truly love Clive Gregory. Just as the tension was reaching its peak, Sophia came in carrying a tray of fruit. Come on now, everyone. Have some fruit and calm down, she said soothingly. I pulled her to sit next to me. The housekeeper should be doing this. Why did you come yourself? Watching our intimate interaction, Jessica's eyes widened in shock. After all, in the original story, I was someone with severe germophobia. Even when holding hands with Jessica, I would wear gloves. Who is she? Jessica demanded. I didn't even spare her a glance. Can't you tell? She's my new wife. Jessica's face changed, losing all her previous confidence. She looked at our intertwined hands with a bewildered expression. She left the Gregory Hotel almost in a panic. I had people secretly keeping an eye on both of them. Without my competition, Jessica didn't actually end up with Clive Gregory, especially after seeing that I had found someone new. She kept making excuses every time he asked to meet her parents. Meanwhile, after I made my attitude towards the Saunders family clear, plenty of people were willing to do my bidding against them. They were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. Finally, Jessica couldn't sit still any longer. At the business gala the following evening, Sophia Nicholson and I arrived in our finest attire. As expected, Jessica Saunders was there. She first glared at Sophia by my side, then walked directly towards me. You, she began, but I cut her off immediately. That's enough. I don't need to hear it, I said firmly. I have no interest in taking back a woman who ran off with an illegitimate child. With a smile, I dropped this bombshell on the crowd. Curious glances fell upon the three of us. Jessica clearly hadn't anticipated that I'd known about this all along. She looked flustered for a moment but quickly regained her composure. What are you talking about? She stammered. After all, this wasn't the ideal time to expose Clive Gregory's true identity. At this point, he was still just a poor lad with no noteworthy status to his name. He hadn't managed to secure Jessica as his meal ticket or gain my father's approval. Even the mess his mother had made years ago hadn't been properly dealt with. In my previous life, Clive had successfully eloped with Jessica. Using her knowledge of future events, they had managed to handle all the evidence in advance and crafted Clive's image as a rising star in the business world. They made a grand return, conspiring with a former housekeeper who had worked for my family. They turned the tables, accusing my mother of being the real mistress who had wormed her way into the family. They claimed that when Clive's mother was with my father, it was my mother who used her family background to take advantage of the situation and drove Clive's mother away. Their so-called evidence was that Clive was a year older than me. But in truth, They had been carrying on behind my mother's back even before the marriage. My father, greedy for wealth, had married my mother for her money. But people only accept the version of events they want to believe. They were jealous of my mother's status as a society lady and couldn't wait to label her as immoral and knock her off her pedestal. My mother couldn't handle the stress and was driven mad. The two of them had her committed to a psychiatric hospital. Clive gained my father's approval, was acknowledged as the legitimate heir, and inherited the entire family fortune. They set me up, tricking me into donating a kidney to Clive, who supposedly had kidney failure. In the end, I died on the streets due to a post-surgery infection. Unable to cope with my death, my mother jumped from the roof of a building, clutching my photograph. But now things were different. I smirked at the panicking Jessica before me. Clive Gregory, Why pretend to be confused? He might as well change his name to Clive the Beast, I sneered. After all, his mother was put through university thanks to my mum's financial support, and how did she repay that kindness? By shamelessly jumping into bed with my father. Oh, and let's not forget, she was only 17 when she got involved with my dad. I continued, my voice dripping with disdain. Clive is a year older than me, you know. Not a shred of decency in that family. I suppose the best investment his mother ever made was ensuring he was born, I added sarcastically. You can't be this shameless. Just because you share a father doesn't mean you're on my level. Humans and dogs are both mammals, but you don't see dogs trying to act human, do you? Watching the amused looks on the faces of those around us, Jessica's face gradually drained of color. Her proud nature made her despise my arrogant attitude to the extreme. But she couldn't bear to give up her cash cow either. So she planned to groom a malleable male lead who would be entirely dependent on her, satisfying her desire for control and possession. As for me, if she couldn't have me, she'd rather destroy me. That's enough, Alexander, Jessica interjected, her voice trembling with anger. I never thought you could be so cruel. Haven't you humiliated him enough? He can't choose the circumstances of his birth. She turned to address the onlookers. I know you've been targeting the Saunders family and Clive recently because you love me, she declared dramatically. But true love isn't like this. You're too proud, Alexander. Your love is suffocating. I looked at her coldly. He might not be able to choose his birth, but his mother could have chosen to have some dignity, I retorted. Then I wouldn't be calling her a homewrecker to her face, would I? Love you, I scoffed. Since when? I'm married. I raised Sophia's hand, showing off our wedding rings. You'd better stop obsessing over me, I warned. You keep fantasizing about things that don't belong to you. What should have been a pleasant gala had turned into a spectacle. As the crowd dispersed, Sophia gently tugged at my hand, which was still gripping hers tightly. I thought you had a phobia of physical contact? She teased. I whistled cheekily. Not when it comes to beautiful women. She shot me a playful glare in response. After the party, my mother found out about the incident and called me. I've heard about what happened today, she said. There was a long silence after that. So, what are you thinking? She finally asked. I sighed, pondering how to help my mother move on from her past loving relationship. Surprisingly, my mother was more rational than I expected. I'm definitely going to divorce him, but not right now, she said. My mother's voice grew colder. Now that you've brought that little beast into the open, it's clear he's after your inheritance. I won't agree to it. As long as I don't divorce, his mistress won't be able to take my place. I tried to comfort her. Don't worry about it. Just make sure to keep your assets secure. Leave the rest to your son. She sighed with relief on the other end. My son has grown up. How could I not grow up? I've been through death once already. According to my expectations, the Saunders family shouldn't have had the nerve to come looking for me again. After all, things had been said so harshly that day. But their thick skin truly surprised me. Jessica Saunders actually came to my door herself. After learning about everything that happened at the party that day, they immediately used all their connections to investigate Clive Gregory. Then, furious, they forced Jessica to break off her relationship with Clive. They kicked her out of the house, saying that if I didn't reconcile with her, they wouldn't acknowledge her as their daughter for a single day. It was only then that Jessica realized that Sophia Nicholson and I had only held a wedding ceremony for show. But we hadn't actually registered our marriage. A spark of hope suddenly lit up in her eyes. She was convinced that I must still love her. Otherwise, why would I still be waiting for her? So this time when she came to my door, her attitude had softened a bit, but still carried a hint of pity and condescension. "Alexander Rivers, you've won. I'm willing to marry you. Running away from the wedding that day was my mistake," she said. She still thought that as long as she came back, I would definitely be waiting for her in the same place. "What happened? Where's that little bastard of yours? Did he run crying to his daddy because I bullied him?" I mocked her. I imagined that by now, he should be flying to Hawaii to do a paternity test with my father. During this time, he had set up a small company of his own. But due to my targeting, it was on the verge of bankruptcy. He needed a powerful assistant to help him, an assistant who could stand up to me. So he chose to claim his parentage early. After all, in the story Jessica had told him, this father of his greatly admired him. But he seemed to have forgotten one thing. The reason his return to the family had been so smooth in his previous life was because I had become lovesick in that storyline, and he had gained Jessica's support. That's what made my father accept him and agree to his return. He even brought his mother back as well. But now I've gone quite mad. I've been doing several projects brilliantly and excellently, one after another recently. My influence in the company has completely overshadowed his. He belatedly realized that I had outmaneuvered him, but there was nothing he could do about it. I wonder what help a father I've sidelined could bring to that little bastard in this situation. The pathetic 1% of shares in his hands? Ha ha, don't make me laugh. Jessica's face was filled with humiliation. "Don't be like this. This attitude of yours will only push me further away," she said. "If you really want me to come back, you'd better be gentler with me." I looked at the woman before me in horror. "Are you truly incapable of understanding human speech?" Her face immediately became awkward. "What do you mean by that?" she asked. "I told you I'm married. Don't you understand?" I replied. "Or did you barge in here today just to watch me flaunt my love?" I rushed up the stairs in a few quick steps. I scooped up the sleepy-eyed Sophia Nicholson and carried her down. Amidst her confused exclamations, I kissed her. Then I took out the marriage certificate from the safe. With a loud thud, I slammed it on the table. "We're married." The ink's barely dry on this certificate. At this moment, Jessica Saunders finally realized that I was no longer the same as the character in the book. "How can this be? How can you not love me?" Sophia and I exchanged a glance. I instantly felt a surge of anger rising within me. But the person opposite us was still shaking her head like a madwoman. "It's impossible. You've always been the one who loved me the most. Something must have gone wrong. How can you not love me? You're supposed to love me until you die." That's indeed how it was in the original story. Until my death, I believed that everything was done by Clive Gregory. So after my rebirth, I tried to use my sincerity to make her change her mind, only to discover that the final mastermind was actually her. But unfortunately, this is now the third time around. The me in the original story is already dead. Now I'm the one with both the original story and the memories of my past life. She lunged towards me, but I kicked her away without mercy. As I watched the venomous look in her eyes while she was being taken away by the security guards, I knew she wouldn't give up easily. "For the next few days, let me know when you're going out. Don't turn off your phone. I'm worried something might happen to you." I carried Sophia back upstairs. Although our relationship hadn't made any substantial progress, it was certainly more than just a simple collaboration. I didn't want anything to happen to such a wonderful girl. Hearing my words, she buried her head in the pillow. "Don't worry, I understand." After some thought, I decided to put pressure on the Saunders family to completely resolve this trouble. After I purposefully intercepted several of their collaborations, Jessica's father finally came to our house. He looked at me and got straight to the point. "Mr. Rivers, what exactly do you want to achieve?" "Actually, my request is very simple. Get rid of Jessica Saunders completely. I don't want her to pose any threat to my wife." "Do you understand my meaning?" Mr. Saunders clenched his fists, sitting stiffly on the sofa. After a long while, he finally responded grimly. "Rest assured, I won't let her appear before you again." He kept his word. He used family discipline to beat Jessica within an inch of her life. Taking advantage of her unconscious state, he immediately arranged a marriage alliance for her. I knew the man too. His family was known for being nouveau riche. Originally in the coal mining business, they accidentally struck a gold vein. From then on, they became wealthy. But the temperament of a former coal boss hadn't diminished at all due to their newfound wealth. In fact, it had become even more arrogant in recent years. He had already driven away several wives. So this time for the marriage, he gave a lot of money to the Saunders family. The Saunders family, as if getting rid of a mess, packed her up and sent her away overnight. This also proved that she had been completely abandoned by her family, and that illegitimate child the Saunders family had been raising outside was brought back. Although only 10 years old, he was already being groomed as the heir. The couple had a big fight because of this. In the end, Mrs. Saunders chose to turn a blind eye for the sake of wealth and status, keeping the son and discarding the mother. When Clive Gregory returned, he finally learned that I had exposed his identity. The excitement of getting a sum of liquid assets after completing the paternity test hadn't even worn off. When I poured this bucket of cold water over him, chilling him to the bone. While I was at work, he stormed past security and made his way to the top floor. He kicked open the office door and barged in. A few secretaries followed behind, looking at me apologetically. We couldn't stop him. I waved my hand, dismissing them all. Looking at his aggressive demeanor, I asked good-naturedly, "Do you think you can pose any threat to me by coming here?" He let out a cold laugh and sat down across from me. Mimicking my posture, he said, "You don't know this, but I'm actually the chosen one in this world, the so-called protagonist. Everything you have now is destined to be mine. But you've lost quite thoroughly at the moment." His expression twisted slightly. I looked at him with amusement. "What? Have you been brainwashed by Jessica Saunders' nonsense too?" He shook his finger confidently and said, "That's only part of the reason. You don't know this, but Father has given me all the shares under his control. You're nothing but a figurehead now. The real power and money are in my hands." I let out a mock gasp, pretending to be terrified. "Is it true? I'm so scared. Can you spare my life?" He looked at my behavior with great dissatisfaction. Frowning, he asked, "Did you not understand what I said?" "Of course I understood, that's why I find you ridiculous. You can't even read a contract properly, yet you really think those shares in his hands amount to much." I watched with amusement as his face changed dramatically. Very patiently, I took out a copy of a contract from the drawer and handed it to him. "Is this what you signed?" Looking at the title and his own signature on it, his face turned panicked. "Where did you get this?" "Of course, a copy of this came to me as soon as you signed it. Did you really think you could hide your little schemes from me? I let you have your fun for a few days, and you actually thought you were the protagonist." I tapped my fingers on the desk. "You see? It says here, 10% shares of a subsidiary company. Including annual dividends, it might be worth about £20,000 a year. Actually, if you just wanted this bit of money, you didn't need to go to such lengths. Just kneel down, kowtow to me a few times, say your mother is a mistress, and I'll throw you a bone. Why bother with all this fuss, rejoicing as if you've gotten something substantial? After all, you probably don't know yet that I'm now the company's largest shareholder. That father figure you thought could control your fate has been completely sidelined by me. I certainly wasn't going to let the tragedy of my past life repeat itself. Jessica Saunders is a cunning one. She knew that my father's greatest frustration in this life was that my mother's family was more powerful than him. He had been overshadowed by my mother for so many years. So she had Clive Gregory act all filial in front of my father. In just a few days, she managed to coax away the shares in his hands. My father was wary of me but treated this illegitimate son quite well. So in this life, as soon as I came back, I immediately drove him out and quickly reclaimed all the shares. With the support from my mother's side, I've completely sidelined him during this time. At this point, it's nothing but a daydream for Clive Gregory to think he can get anything of value from his hands. With each sentence I spoke, his eyes grew redder. He clenched his fists, veins popping out. His whole body trembled as he looked at me with hatred. I watched as his hand gradually moved towards his pocket. I knew he still had that dagger in there. In my past life, this dagger was originally a gift he bought for father. He had always liked collecting such things. He brought it back this time, probably because he didn't get the real recognition he wanted. Father just gave him some small benefits and sent him away. Originally, father hadn't put all this out in the open, but now I've laid it all out for everyone to see. I smiled mischievously as I continued to provoke him. You're nothing more than a dog we keep in our house now. You need to recognize your master and not try to please the wrong person. As for the one who supposedly told you the plot in your eyes, just look at what happened to her. He immediately asked nervously, "What did you do to her?" I chuckled. Of course, I found her a good man. I reckon she's already living with him now. After all, there's no future with someone like you. With that man, she can see the end of her days. His eyes reddened with anger, and he lunged at me with a knife. I deliberately stepped towards him. The blade sank into my body. Why don't you guess how many years you'll be sentenced to for this stabbing under my elite legal team's prosecution? And guess again, will he want a son with a criminal record? Then I pressed the alarm button beside me. The shrill alarm sound echoed throughout the entire building. Clive Gregory's face instantly turned pale, and he dropped the knife with trembling hands. He pushed me aside and ran towards the exit. I told everyone not to stop him. After all, the charge for fleeing to avoid punishment would be even heavier. Of course, he didn't have the guts to actually kill me. When it came to real violence, he was as cowardly as a mouse. After I was admitted to the hospital, Sophia Nicholson found out about this incident right away. When she arrived, her eyes were red and puffy. It looked like she had already been crying. I immediately turned to the people around angrily. Didn't I tell you not to inform my wife? You were actually trying to hide this from me? She walked over, fuming. The people around us tactfully withdrew. At this moment, I felt inexplicably guilty. I had only meant to keep it from her to avoid frightening her. I cleared my throat lightly. Well, before I could speak, her tears began to fall in large drops. My heart instantly tightened. Don't cry, please. I frantically tried to wipe away her tears. I promise this is the last time, don't cry. I was wrong, I was wrong. I hissed in pain. I had never seen her cry so heartbrokenly before. Even when she found out she had been sold off for a bride price, she hadn't been this upset. I really didn't mean to hide it from you. My explanation was feeble, but I didn't know where to begin with the whole incident. Finally, I sighed. I could only grip her hand tightly. This matter, But she covered my mouth. You don't need to say more. I know everything. She smiled at me. Do you know why I suddenly took you to get married that day? I looked at her, bewildered. The day after the party ended, she suddenly brought me to the register office. Do you dare to marry me? Turn this act into reality? I looked at her, shocked. Even as we came out holding the still warm marriage certificate, I was still in a daze. Because I'm the same as you, Sophia Nicholson sighed. You probably don't know, but I've liked you for a very long time. I had a crush on you when I was still your junior at university. As she spoke, she began to talk about her life after death. The Nicholson family wasn't considered much of an aristocratic family in Westminster. The only thing they could boast about was Sophia Nicholson, their daughter who excelled in every way. At that time, we were both students at the same university. She was 1 year below me. I was the student union president then, and I happened to help her deal with some rumors and gossip at school. After that, she began to quietly pay attention to me. But because of her family situation, She didn't dare to express her feelings. Her family was quite awful. They treated her like a commodity to be sold to the highest bidder. In the end, they found a buyer who was willing to pay a high price. That was the coal tycoon. In the end, Sophia Nicholson died at his hands. No one was there to claim her body. Her body lay in the police station for 3 days. Her soul hovered nearby for those 3 days. Until she met me. In my previous life, I had managed to break free from the constraints of the plot a little. But by then, I had lost almost everything. Even my kidney had been harvested. When I went to report it to the police, I saw Sophia Nicholson. Poor little Junior. Why don't you squeeze in with me? In the end, I buried her in the grave I had bought for myself. But I couldn't hold on and died on the street. My ashes were scattered into the sea by those two. Her soul dissipated, and when she opened her eyes again, she was back to the time when I was jilted. When she first heard my somewhat presumptuous request, her initial reaction was to refuse. But there was always a voice saying, "Why not agree?" After the cocktail party, her memories gradually resurfaced. She recognized me, felt grateful, and added to her former secret crush. She eagerly dragged me to the register office. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "So you?" She looked at me nervously. "I can't be of much help to you." I held her in my arms. "Haven't you noticed? I only cuddle and play with you. You're my wife. You don't need to be able to help me all the time. Actually, just having you here makes our home feel warm. So I hope you can rely on me too, when you need me." Since that confession, Sophia had become a bit shy. She hadn't come to see me for a long time. Out of boredom, I could only repeatedly torment Clive Gregory and the Nicholson family. When my father learned that his illegitimate son had been dealt with like this, he didn't dare make a peep. But when my mum brought up divorce, he refused to agree. "We've been married for so many years. I just made a mistake that all men make. Do you have to be so ruthless?" I felt embarrassed just hearing this. After all, that Clive Gregory seemed to be even a year older than me. I don't know where he got the nerve to talk about years of marital affection. My mum was merciless. She filed for divorce directly. After winning the case, he was left with nothing but a few £100,000 and a small flat. After all, their joint assets had been reduced to almost nothing through the efforts of my mum and me. It was all with me now. And he had been cheating for years without any justification. After dealing with family matters, it was the Nicholson family's turn. Since I broke his hand that time, Sophia's bastard father had harbored resentment towards me. When he heard that Clive Gregory was our family's illegitimate son, he mindlessly started supporting him. Then he was targeted by my business partners. He went bankrupt within days. The news of their family's bankruptcy didn't even cause a ripple here. At this time, Clive Gregory's sentence came down. Intentional injury, fleeing to avoid punishment. He was sentenced to 30 years. After hearing this verdict, he went mad and actually injured a police officer while being taken into custody and escaped. He chopped his mother into mincemeat with a kitchen knife. When the police caught him, he was still hacking at the minced flesh on the ground. He was still saying, "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have become like this." In the end, he was diagnosed as mentally disturbed from the shock. He was committed to a mental hospital. Because of his good looks, he was molested multiple times by patients and some temporary workers there. He completely lost his mind. Every day he would strip naked and shout that he was the chosen one, he was the main character, the Gregory family should all be his, and things like that. Meanwhile, Jessica Saunders was suffering daily abuse from Grayson Pritchard, the coal tycoon. She was in unbearable pain. Finally, she seized an opportunity to call the police. But I suppressed the report. I gently told her that she might have some mental issues. I said it was best not to interfere in a couple's private affairs. She fell into complete despair. With my tacit approval, Grayson became even more emboldened. He beat her 3 times a day without fail. Within days, she was barely recognizable. The Saunders family asked me to show her mercy. Of course, I agreed. Then I immediately cut off their recent funding. They quickly stopped caring. Jessica finally died at Grayson's hands. In her last moments of despair, She wanted to see me one last time. I agreed. Seeing her on the brink of death, I decided to provoke her, hoping it might spark her will to live. You don't know this, but I'm also a transmigrator, I said. I recounted everything to her in detail, watching her eyes widen in shock and her breathing become labored. I kindly waited to hear what she might say. You'll get what's coming to you, she gasped. After I leave this world, I'll find you. I swear I'll kill you. I took a step back. Calmly adjusting my cuffs, I said, I don't think you quite understand your situation. Let me tell you, this is your last chance at life. Your existence will soon be erased. Before you transmigrated, it seems your body became disabled after falling down the stairs while trying to harm someone. Don't worry. When you wake up again, you'll be back in that body. Enjoy it while you can. I will indeed leave this world, but you. I smiled as I watched her heart monitor flatline, ending with a long, final beep. What a pity, dying so young. I, on the other hand, will live a long life here. I turned and left the room. Sophia Nicholson was waiting for me outside. She gave me a playful slap. You really know how to rile people up. I pulled her close and kissed her. Never mind her. How are our wedding preparations coming along? Shall we go try on wedding dresses today? I've reserved several at Peter's. Will you let me model them for you? The wicked may have their day, but for me, this world is just the beginning.